The target audience in web design is something that we really don't consider enough of. And this plays so much into our web designs and our web developments, and it's taken for granted. I know that when I was starting out, I really didn't consider the target audience enough. What are they? Who are they? And why do I need to know what they're doing? But now that I'm doing a lot more work in development and design, I figured out just how important that is. It's almost the most important thing to be able to figure out before you do any work at all. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about the target audience, how you figure out who they are, why you need to know who they are, and how you develop and design a website or an app around them. Because once you figure this out, you'll be able to create better websites that get more conversions and essentially work. And that's what we're all after at the end of the day. If you don't know who I am, I'm Adrian from Australia. I do videos around design and development. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. The target audience for a website are the people or the group that most utilize that. Now, it doesn't mean that they're the only people that might be utilizing that app or that website. It just means that they're the main medium of group that are going to be invested in it. Let's take an example. If we're talking about plumbing, then the target audience might be hard to define. If we're talking to a plumber and we're creating a website for them, they might tell us that the target audience is everyone because that's who they think. But sometimes we have to take a step back and really consider who they are, because they're not actually everyone. There's probably a group behind that. And I've done this in an example where we've actually gone out to talk to a plumber and told them, let's take some time to figure out who your target audience really is, because right now your website isn't clearly defined and not a single group really is represented in there. So what we did was we did some investigation and we had a look at who was doing most of the calls and the conversions for their plumbing business. And what we found out was that it wasn't younger people because they didn't have houses yet. It wasn't families because most families try to do most of the plumbing themselves or as much as they could have. It was actually the older generation of people. The people that had houses, that they had an extra bit of money and they didn't have the time or the energy to do it themselves, so they would just get a plumber to do it. On top of that, we found that they're the type that would also want to make sure that they had maintained plumbing. So they would get yearly maintenance and stuff like that. So this older generation we figured out was the target audience. The problem was the website currently, it wasn't optimized for that target audience. There was lots of big flashy images and movies and videos playing all over the place with vibrant colors. And this was more catered for a younger generation which simply wasn't using that plumbing website. So this means that the very first thing that you figure out is the target audience, and then you can start designing your web design around that target audience. Now, since this plumbing website did have lots of vibrant colors, it wasn't a match for their target audience. Their target audience was older. This meant that they wanted something simple for their website, just a single image with a clearly defined button to do a conversion. And usually an older generation, they might not know how to use a website. They might not have good eyesight or a number of other things on how to even use a computer properly. So we needed to simplify the web design to be as easy to use as possible and to lead those to the conversions, because that's what we wanted to do. When we do that, we're going to make the website a lot better based on that medium that we're trying to define. After that is the development phase. And the target audience is just as important in development as it is in design. The reason for this is that in development, it's going to be about how people use the website. So for example, if they're trying to make a sale on the website and they need to be able to go through maybe a shopping cart and a checkout and all of that, for a younger generation, they might have a short attention span. So you can make that really quick, but that might not work for an older generation. They might need something which is a little bit slower and a little bit more defined with more text and more information so they can spend the time to read through that. Implementing this into the development, implementing the target audience and how you would expect them to utilize the website is really important. When you do that, you will get better conversions as well. I know that when I was doing both design and development, I was building it out for myself. I was building it on how I would use it. And I natively understood how to already design something or how to develop and utilize it. So it wasn't a really good example at all. What you really need to do is get yourself into the mind of your target audience, or even better yet, get them to sit down in front of a computer with you or a group of them and do some user testing. Test out different designs, test out different development, and see how they interact with it, because that's the way that you'll build a website better around that target audience. Anyway, we built out this website for this target audience and we changed it to an older generation, and funny enough, it did more conversions. And this is why it's so important to be able to have the target audience in mind when you're building out a website design or development. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit like and subscribe, and make sure you take your target audience into mind. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.